Good morning, Beach Baptist Anywhere. Live in front of a studio audience. It's true. Happy Mother's Day. Just to let you know what's kind of going on in our life. I was looking at the cloud. We have all the children here on the property, and the in-laws, and the outlaws. We have them all. Everybody's here. We had 25 people went out on the river yesterday for Mother's Day weekend. And that wasn't everybody. Not everybody went out on the river. So there's a lot. There's a lot. So first time in many years that everyone's been able to be together for Mother's Day. For Sherry Ann, once kids get off and doing their own thing, it's hard to put them all together. But also, another thing about online church is that you can't make a lot of big weekend plans around holidays when you're pastoring a church unless you take off, and then there's not anybody there to help, because as we were all involved. So if we left, there wasn't anything. So it's kind of cool for the first time to be able to celebrate a holiday and be able to do church too, but be able to have it all. So another blessing. We always looking for them. Last week we looked at Jesus always, meaning that Jesus has been in through this entire book, this entire Bible that you're reading every day, at least a little, some, right? Involved in your life, some. We talked about how he is in every story. When you're reading the Old Testament, every story is about him. It's not about anything else. It's about him. It should be pointing you to him. Today's no different. And so last week we started talking about how he sort of it was a typecast. It was a reference. It wasn't really there. Today we're going to look at one in the Old Testament where Jesus actually shows up. It's called theophany. If you want to sound good at parties, theophany is the theology of Jesus actually showing up in the person. So you can just have that. Just tuck it away. I don't know how your weeks go, but mine typically go. I always tell you when I got a test coming up. So that's next week. We got 2 tests coming up. But last week we didn't have any tests coming up. So, last week's kind of like chill and everything's, just kind of scheduled right along and no big hiccups. But I don't know about you, but when you wake up and things are good, you look around, your marriage is a blessing, your family's a blessing. I mean, everything's just like firing on all cylinders. My granddad used to say, I think it was, it's just awesome. You look out and you're like, but then the very next week, something happens, you didn't know that something was going to happen. Somebody ends up in the emergency room, somebody gets some bad news. I mean, not just in your family, but just people, and so you're dealing with that. And it's just somebody texts you and say, hey, so-and-so died. And you're like, what? It just, things hit you and you just don't know that it's coming. You get a call and it's just, and you're just like, I didn't see that coming. You understand? I didn't see that coming. We're going to talk about that being a fire today. So we'll say that you get a fire comes into your life, but we're going to look at the blessing of the fire. That's where we're at. I titled it, "Do you smell smoke?" ? We were at work the other night, and there was a wildfire somewhere, but it was coming in the hospital, coming in the buildings. I mean, you could just smell it. It was like, I mean, literally inside. It was hard to breathe because of the smoke smell. And so that just reminded me of that. So that's why I titled it that. The "You Smell Smoke's" not really part of the sermon. It was just part of life. But that's life. You rarely see the hard stuff coming. It's not like you're looking forward and going, there's a hard one coming, right? It's getting ready to be some bad news. I mean, some people are like that. They're pessimistic. But to know that something's coming doesn't usually happen. It sort of just jumps in there. You just don't imagine news like that come, but here you are. It happens, and there you are. So you can relate, or you're going to be able to relate. Promise you that. I'm not going to give you an easy answer today, but maybe just another way to look at it. Maybe another way to show you that hopefully there's something better, because Jesus is always. He's always there. He's always present. He's always in the middle of it. He always knows. It doesn't come to him. The stuff that happens to you is not a surprise to him. That's what's really cool. Now, sometimes I pray like it's a surprise to him. Like I want to start praying and fill God in and say, here we are, God. And, you may not know this, but today I woke up and this is happening. And I'm really going to need you to pay attention today because I'm going to need help getting through it. And so, we sort of inform God. It's not how it works. You see, when we wake up, God already knows what's in store for us today. God doesn't have a cell phone, but he knows the calls that are going to come to you. He doesn't have email, but he knows the emails you're going to get. He doesn't have a job, but he's already at work when you get there. He doesn't go to school, but he's already there when you get there. And he knows what's going to go on. He already knows, this is weird, he already knows what I'm going to make on my test before I do. And that's crazy. He's not going to make me make it particular, but he knows. He just knows. And that's important. And what we're going to look at today is that he knows. Because before Jesus was born, this blow your mind a little bit, he already was. John 1:1 tells us that in the beginning, the word, which is Jesus, called Logos, another name for Jesus, is that he was there. So he was there when everything was made. He was there and nothing was made that wasn't made through him. So everything has to do with Jesus. So I could have said that this sermon is Jesus everything, but that's typical. But Jesus always, he always was and always is. So nothing was made without him. This didn't start the Christmas story. We always like to think about Jesus showing up at Christmas. That's when he showed up in person and walked around on the planet as a man, but he showed up other times. Old Testament speaking, he literally came down to the planet as a guy. And this is one of the stories that we're going to look at today. Last week, we saw that he provided a lamp, which was pointing forward to the cross. Not a shadow today. Understand, this is real, right? And this is one of those things that the rest of the world doesn't believe the story. It's kind of like the Jonah story, the fish, sometimes even Noah's Ark. But this one for sure, everybody's like, that's just a metaphor. I don't think so. And if you're like that, maybe you need to analyze your faith a little bit. That's okay. So some theophany here. Did I even say it earlier? Right? It's theophany. I don't know if I said it right. Here we go. Daniel 3. Jesus shows up. He's not in a temple. He doesn't show up at church. He's not on a throne as the king or anything like that. He shows up in a fire. Here's your first point because you need to understand. Jesus won't always keep you from the fire, but he'll always meet you in it. So he already knows all the fires you're going to come up with in the future. Next week, something's going to happen, or next month, whatever. He already knows about it, okay? And he's not always going to keep you from it. See, I heard a sermon one time that I need to be thankful for all the things. That's weird. All you do is touch this mic and it goes away. Sorry. What was I saying? Oh, so he already knows what's going to happen. He doesn't keep you from it. And like I said, I heard a sermon one time where they said you need to be thankful for all the things that don't happen to you because that's Jesus keeping you from going through stuff. Like he's running a defensive tackle, or like he's out there with his arms and he's like, no, that's not going to happen to them. No, that's not going to happen. Here's the problem with that theology. That means that one of two things has to happen. He misses a tackle sometimes and it still gets around. I'm just not there. Okay. Or he's going along and he goes, you know what? He needs to experience this. And he fades and lets something through. Not going to do that either. Okay. Just not. That would be like he's intentional. He just knows, right? It's the fact of where you live, how you live, who you are, what kind of situations we live in our life, that the bad crap happens. The bad news is going to come. The situations are going to be here for you. Just all there is to it. Okay. So we don't need to sugarcoat it. We don't need none of that stuff. You need to be thankful every day that Jesus is with you, period. Good or bad stuff happening. So we got, it's just like 605 BC, I think, something like that. Babylon has invaded Judah. They've destroyed everything. They took the biggest or the best and brightest people, King Nebuchadnezzar did, and he indoctrinated this entire culture of people.
into his way of thinking, except for 3 teenage boys, which I don't know if you've ever tried to indoctrinate teenagers. That's just not a word or phrase that goes together. I'm going to indoctrinate teenagers. There's a lot of people out there that says that our teenagers are being indoctrinated. I don't think so. Teenagers are free thinkers. Now, they may be mushy, right? But they're choosing, okay? As a teenager, you're choosing what you want. We just use different things to choose. These guys refused to be indoctrinated by Nebuchadnezzar and decided to keep listening to God and to follow the tenets of the faith that they already had. So Nebuchadnezzar is the most powerful man on earth at this time now. He actually builds a gold statue 90 foot tall and commands everyone to bow down to him. Now, side note, if you build something 90 foot tall, make it of gold and have people bow down to you, you might be a little insecure, right? It reminds me of trucks with big tires or trucks that are now squat. I could be, I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but some of this stuff, come on, there's some overcompensation going on. We may not need to be doing all that, but that's what he did. You know, that was his expression of his insecurity. Build this big statue, make everybody bow down to it. Verse 5 through 6 says this: as soon as you hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the lyre, the harp, the pipe, and all kinds of music, you must fall down and worship the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. Whoever does not fall down and worship will immediately be thrown into a blazing furnace. So since he says music plays, you bow or you burn. That's it. That's all there's to it. So this music plays, and thousands of people, they bow. Every leader, every official, everybody stops what they're doing except for 3 teenage boys. On brand. Now, this is on brand. You tell teenage boys to do something, they'll do the opposite. That's what they did. This happens to be a positive, right kind of rebellion. And some of our culture today, we see it. Some of these, not every teenager is bad. Not every teenager is going the way that everybody else is going. There's a bunch out there that refuse to bow to cultural lies. There's literally teenagers out there that are smarter than us on social media. They're not getting swayed by stuff. They're better at noticing the fake, right? The AI, the false news. They're smarter than we are. We kind of sometimes get swayed. Oh, did you see what happened? Did you hear what they said? No. I thought about that the other day. Somebody printed a picture, I'm not going to say what it is, and they put words at the top and said, this person said this, right? But they didn't play the video. Wouldn't it be smarter if somebody said something that you play the video of it? And that's, for those of us who aren't good at this, that's one of your first clues. If it's a picture of somebody and somebody saying they said something, it's probably a lie. Just get a video. And then be careful now. Some of the videos, they're fake too. Newsflash. That's okay. And by the way, I don't really care what anybody said. If they said bad stuff, good stuff, don't show me a picture of somebody popular that they said this and now I should be like, oh no. Nuh-uh. These guys, they're smart about this. They said, nah, not going to do it. Just not going to pretend. He does not deserve me to bow. He does not deserve my worship. Instead, we're going to stand up and we're going to speak out. And we're going to speak out the name above every name. I mean, the king is furious. And he gives them one more chance. King says, but if you do not worship the statue, you will be thrown immediately into a blazing furnace. It already shows you King Nebuchadnezzar's frailty. He already said once, you don't do it, you're going to a fire. They didn't do it. He goes, if you don't, now I'm saying it again, I'm going to make sure you heard me this time. And then he says this, check this, because this is where your phrase needs to work. Then what God will be able to rescue you from my hand? That's verse 15. Then what God? What God's going to rescue you? This isn't an ancient threat now. This is a voice that you know. This is a voice in your head. Your bank account looks at you and says, where's your God now? Your divorce papers are shouting out, what God can fix this? Your grief says, what power does God have here? And it's asking you, are you going to bow down to those things, Or are you going to dig deep and say, I'm still going to stand up? Every hard season has a Nebuchadnezzar voice telling you, your God's not big enough. He's not going to come through. He might be coming through for others, but not for you. If he loved you, he wouldn't let this happen. Remember that defensive guy? They got a picture of Jesus running defense. If he really loved you, he'd have blocked all this. He'd have made it better the moment it happened. He would have fixed it. He would have massaged your little ego. He would have patted you on the butt. He is putting his arms around you, but not in the sense of, it's okay. You don't deserve this. I know. We're going to make those bad things go away. No, that's just not how it works. Here's verse 16 through 18. King Nebuchadnezzar, this is the boys. We do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it. You need to pay attention to some words here. Okay? I know you already know the story. Pay attention to the words. Our God that we serve is able, big word, to deliver us from it. And then he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. Very important. But even if he does not, even more important, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. Check it. I know, they're saying, I know my God is able. I'm not wavering on that. I know it happens. I know he's able to do it. And he will deliver us from your hand. He's not saying that we're not going to get thrown in the furnace. Nope. They're saying we're going to be delivered from you no matter what happens. He's able. He's going to deliver us. But then check this. Even if he does not, now they're talking about the fire. Even if he does not keep us from the fire, we want you to know you're never getting our knees. We're never bowing down to this. Ever. That's some unwavering faith. So he is able. He is able to heal what doctors can't. He is able to restore what's been broken for years. He's able to make a way when there's no way you can see it. Absolutely, our God is able. Very important that you know that. Very important that you stand on that. Very important that you don't forget that. That's big faith. But that's not the biggest part. The biggest part is he's able, but he doesn't always do it the way you and I think he's going to. He doesn't always deliver us the way you think he's going to deliver us. He's able. And he's always there. He doesn't let things through. He's just there with you. See, I like to picture Jesus running with me. I've got the ball. He's running with me. Sometimes he'll take the ball from me and run with me, but we never disconnect. We're always running through together. So that's real faith. You got to hold on to both. He's able, but even if he doesn't, I'm never going to bow down to this other stuff. So somebody needs to hear. You need to declare your faith in the middle of the fire. Some of us need to declare our faith before the fire happens. We need to be ready for the fires by declaring, I know my God's able. But even if he doesn't fix what I think he should fix, I'm never going to bow down to this other stuff because I know him. Because you know him. And I mean know him. You can say, I know my God can, but even if he doesn't, I'll still believe. So the king loses it. I mean, he's like, yes, you will. I mean, it's really starting to rub him raw, right? We're digging into that ego now. And so he orders the furnace. You'll read your book that he wants the furnace 7 times hotter than usual. Has his strongest soldiers tie the boys' ropes. Now, I don't know what the guy's thinking. You're going to throw them in a fire that's 7 times hotter than normal, but you need some ropes around them. Anyway, the flames of the furnace literally kill the soldiers as they're throwing the boys in. I never understood the ropes. Everything says boys are dead. Fire's too hot. King's too powerful. The situation's too far gone. Way too far gone. But the king looks into the fire. Y'all know what he said or what he saw. Check this, verse 24. Then King Nebuchadnezzar leapt to his feet because he's far back, so he can see the whole thing going on. Yeah, he's not going to get close to the fire. Leaped to his feet in amazement and asked his advisors, weren't there 3 that you tied up and threw into the fire? They replied, certainly, your majesty. Look, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. He doesn't even know the Son of God. But something in it, when you see Jesus, nobody has to tell you who he is. Nobody. Even this guy could recognize he looks like the Son of God. So there's not 3, there's 4. They're not burning, they're walking. They're not bound, they're free. He couldn't even know him. And yet he knows him. Looks like. Come on. That's why you're going to call this series, or why we're going to call this Jesus Always. Before he was born, he was here. Before he walked on water, he walked on this fire. He walked in this fire. Before he hung on the cross, he stood with these 3 boys who would not bow. He could have stopped the fire. He could have calmed the storm. And sometimes he does. But other times, he just lets you walk in the fire. Just never alone. So he protected them, yes, from the fire by being with them. Look at verse 27, or starts in 26. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stepped out of the fire. Not a hair on their head was singed, and their clothing was not scorched. I love this part. They didn't even smell of smoke. Okay, so the title does kind of go back. They didn't even smell like smoke. That's still for you. After you're done with this fire, you're not supposed to look beaten. Okay? You're not supposed to go, well, I barely survived that. Nope. You don't need the adverb barely. I survived that. You stood on the other side of whatever your fire is, surviving. And going through it, you're not supposed to be, well, I'm trying. I'm doing my best. I hope I do. Or I hope I can see this through. Nope. When you have faith that Jesus is always by you and you're walking through these fires, you're not even going to smell like or look like you went through one. Well, that's you can't be like that, preacher. Yeah, you can. You absolutely can. And it doesn't mean that you just let stuff roll off your back. Now, these guys didn't feel it. They allowed Jesus to absorb the pain while they were in the fire. There's a lesson for us. Allow Jesus to absorb the pain while we put our faith in him. See, if you focus on him, the pain doesn't hit you as hard. You're still going to feel it. You're human. You have emotions. An emotion of loving the Savior is better than the emotion of the pain from a fire. The fire burned the ropes, but it didn't burn them. The one thing the fire destroyed was what had them bound up. And that's what's going to happen to you. As you walk through these fires, the stuff that you're allowing to bind you up will burn away. You won't. Pretty sure none of us have ever died from the result of an emotional turmoil or something happening. Plenty of deaths. But you know what I'm talking about. It's the stuff that messes you up every day that we don't die from. What if the thing that's burning you right now isn't destroying you? What if it's just burning off what's been holding you? What if it's getting rid? You know, there's a whole lot. You could do these sermons on fire and strengthening and burning off impurities and all that stuff. But we're talking about stuff now that's binding you up, that you're allowing to hold you back from the world. Literally could be anything. Anything. It could even be good stuff that's holding you back from experiencing what God has for your life. Something happens in the fire that just can't happen anywhere else. It could be burning off self-control and burning off self-sufficiency, right? It could be any of those things, making you go back and say, I need God to take away what I didn't even know was binding me up. Teach me to depend on you. Some of us, if you do this right, whatever season you're in, as you come out of it, people won't even know you're in it. Do you ever notice there's a lot of people that want everyone to know the fire they're in? They want to tell you about the fire. Well, you can't imagine what I'm going through. You can. Now, we're not even talking about your closest loved ones. We're not talking about your spouse. Duh. We're talking about just people that you come in contact with. Well, let me tell you what's going on in my life now. Let me tell you what I'm dealing with. And in a way, that's freeing, right? In psychological terms, we're sharing those feelings, and that gives us a peace, to share. And it comes from all different circles. But that same feeling comes from depending on God to get you through them, right? Because people don't need to see your problems. They don't need to see your fires. They need to see the person who's walking through that fire with you. Some of us are really good at showing the fire. Some of us really like smelling like smoke. We're not supposed to be that way. We're supposed to walk out of these fires with us, with a deeper commitment to the God that was with us in that fire, and then keep on moving, because there's going to be another one coming. Can we learn through the fires that we're in now to be ready for the next one? And maybe, just maybe, our God will get the credit that he deserves, not from everybody else. We're talking about credit from us, to give him the glory that he so richly deserves for just being with us. Thanks for being with us today. I pray that you all have a great, blessed Mother's Day. I always tell you, if your mother's alive and you haven't called her today, get out and do it. At least call her, right? Hope you've already sent a flower or a card or whatever you're going to do, but at least call her. And if you're in church, we're going to count this too. For some of you who only go to church on these kind of holidays, you can count this. So you can call her and tell her, say, I went to church this morning, right? So I'm Pastor Sean. This is Beach Baptist Anywhere so if you need to document it, this is where you were. I tease, but still, moms like us to go to church. Moms like us to be involved. Your mom wants you to know who Jesus is. And I hope that for your life as well. Let me pray for you. And then I'll see you back here next Sunday morning, 10:30. God, I thank you for our mothers. I thank you for this day that we can honor them. I pray we're doing it more than just one day a year, but especially for today. Thank you for who they are to us and what they mean to us. Thank you for being there in the fires of life, for the fire that we may have went through last week, the one we're in right now, or the one that's coming. Thank you for always being you. In your name we pray. Amen. We'll see you back. Have a great week. Hello? Is it still there? I don't know.